Coming straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. It's a jam with the Ecamm fam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam.
Hold it, stop the music!
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen.
Can I please have your attention?
Now showtime, are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready? Let's go.
Well, hello there, Ecamm fam. It is so nice to be back with you guys. It has been a minute, I think. It's been a few months since I did the demo for Ecamm, and I'm excited to be here. And I'm actually very fortunate to be here because I don't know if any of you have been following the news, but Seattle is the capital of the bomb cyclone, and we got hit pretty hard just the other night. As a matter of fact, that's what it looked like off the coast of Washington State on Tuesday night. And I have been without power for the better part, well, since Tuesday night. So fortunately, I'm in my buddy's dungeon. He is an electronics guy. And so there's a bunch of stuff behind me that he works on things. He and I work together. I've known him for 30 years or so. And he was kind enough to offer me his internet connection and some power to run the demo today. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm really happy to be able to get through the demo with you. Speaking of which, the demo. So you can see over here, there's a QR code up in the upper right hand corner. Also, Mr. Moderator, thank you for posting the link in the chat box here. That will allow you to go ahead and say what your experience level is with Ecamm. And the cool thing is that I can see those results in real time. And so as you vote where you've been, I can tailor the demo to your experience or the group's experience level. So let's go ahead and do that. I can actually head over to here, and I don't see anybody checked in yet. Let's see. I'll check in with the chat while we're waiting for people to check in. Let's see, Joel, how you doing? Praying extraordinary prayers. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're glad we're safe too. It's been, Starbucks has been a very interesting adventure. So I hate to see what their electric bill is going to be, but we're spending $5 on lattes, so I think they can afford it. Brandy, how's it going? Mr. Cameron Junkie's here. There is, oh, we got a refresh. Okay, let's do that. There we go. Brand new. All right, there we go. More than a year and brand new. Okay. Well, this would be interesting. Yeah, so the way that the weather has worked up in Washington State over the past, we usually have a big storm, you know, once a year to knock all the trees down that are weak and branches and everything, and then we get our snow. And usually we don't have power outages during snow, but This one was especially crippling because nobody was really ready for it. And I had some drone footage. I wanted to share it with you guys just to show you my neighborhood and what it looks like, but it is it's kind of a war zone. So I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad we can make it. And, you know, yeah, see, Brandy, I don't know. We just, the east side, we just got slammed. We just got absolutely decimated. So, and they're talking maybe at the earliest we'll see power maybe tomorrow, maybe. So anyway, we'll refresh one more time, see where we're at. And let's see. So, okay, so we're still kind of brand new-ish. And we got a few folks here that are more than a year. So we'll start with some of the basics. I'm in the east side, Joel. We'll start with some of the basics. And just go through scene setup and things like that. And feel free to ask questions. I've got, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Is the thing. Listen, you know what? I didn't want to lead with that, but I felt like it was important to show. You know, this is one of those things where I wish I had my other camera with me because I could show you what kind of room I'm doing this demo in right now. It's literally a garage in North Seattle, and this is just a testament to how portable Ecamm is. I'm working off of the same camera that I use for all my other stuff. I just brought it with me, brought a USB hub, brought a few things, some lights, and it works. It just works. You know, so with an internet connection, some power, and a little bit of elbow grease, you can get this thing working. I wouldn't do this normally. I would much prefer to be in my studio, but it's freezing there and without power. So we're going to roll from here. All right, so let's go back, and here I am in all my glory. I'll turn off that QR code. The link still works that Mr. Moderator put at the beginning of the chat box, so feel free to check in again, and I'll refresh maybe a little bit later on. But we'll go ahead and start with just some of the basics: setting up a scene, getting things going, just trying to understand where things are. And I'm going to switch between what's called this live view, which is what you're seeing right now. This is broadcast full screen. And then what we have is live demo mode, where you can see my screen as I see it. And then that way you can get a sense of how I'm navigating things around. So first things first, we're gonna talk a little bit about the user interface, just so you know where things are. I know for a lot of you that have been using Ecamm, even in the basic stages, that you pretty much understand this stuff, but let's just cover it real quick just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I will go into live demo mode, and you can see here I am. Here's everybody's questions down the side here, and then I've got I keep this guy up. This is my bandwidth statistics, and this tells me how much bandwidth I'm using. So I know that we like to go wired here at Ecamm, and we do. It's the better way to do it. But believe it or not, I am on a Wi-Fi network, but my router is about 2 feet away. So I think I'm okay for now. And I'm also running a wireless microphone. So that helps in the sense that I don't have wires all over the place, but of course it's subject to battery outages and things like that, which I'm acutely aware of these days. So, so we're going to go ahead and start looking at the palettes that are down the sides here. You can see we have our scenes palette, and the scenes palette, really this is the way your scene is organized. This is the way your show is organized. So you have your show organized in almost like slides, but not really, because it can be a lot more than that. But it's a good way to start. If you're familiar with doing presentations and you want to step through things one by one, creating a different scene for each step makes sense, right? Well, there's other ways to do it where you can simplify things. You can see I have just a few scenes here, and some of these I'm not even, like all this stuff I'm not using at all. I'm really going with this scene, and then we've got our results scene here, which I guess I should refresh. And then I've got a blank scene. So we'll start out with a blank scene just so you can see how that's all done. Now, in Ecamm, when you're creating a scene for the first time, what it wants to do is use your camera full screen. And that's something that you just want to kind of nip in the bud from the get-go. So for those of you who have heard any of the Ecamm moderators talked before, it's the same thing. We all say the same thing, and this largely stems from just all the users, all the power users. We want to start with a clean slate, right? So in your scene pull down menu, in your source pull down menu, you'll see blank camera, share screen, video file. So always make sure that that's blank, right? So that allows you to define your background and your cameras and everything like that. The camera is not full screen. Also, what you want to do is you go into your preferences, and you can see here under preferences, you've got all the different settings. I'm not going to go through all these. I've got content. There's a lot of training content on the internet for going through these, all these tabs in here. So we're not going to do that. But let me see, under video. Yeah. So default source mode. Just if you haven't done it already, just go ahead and set your default source mode to blank for all times. And then that makes it so that every time you create a new scene, it's a blank slate, and it allows you to kind of get things just clean, and you're not dealing with, okay, well, now I need to turn off that camera. Those kinds of things you just don't have to worry about. You start blank. And then what you're going to populate your scenes with are overlays. So in this case, what you're looking at right now with me on screen is just a single overlay, and that is the camera right here. So if I turn that off, that's just the background. Now you can still hear me because I'm still here. I just hid the overlay, and now I turn it back on, and here I am. The cool thing about the overlays is that they all kind of work the same. Once you get one mastered, it's really just a matter of some slight differences between like what an image is or a shape is or a camera, that you'll have to understand those differences, but it's all natural. I mean, there's nothing in here that's so obtuse that you can't really get it from the get-go. It's pretty straightforward. So looking at, like, for instance, camera A here, you can see, yes, I want to allow, thank you. You can see I've got all my different settings. So camera A is currently locked. Now, why do I lock it? Because what happens is if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, this happens all the time. And you forget about that, and you go to move something, and you figure out, you're got it exactly like you want it, and then you just move that scroll wheel just a touch. And I'm using the good old magic mouse, right? And this thing is super sensitive, so I'll be moving something and then it'll be sizing at the same time. So once you've got something where you want it, the size you want it, just lock it. That's just the best way to do it. And the way that the overlays work is much like, the scenes are more like in order, right? So in the scenes palette, I look at it as like step 1, step 2, step 3, right? Overlays within a scene are kind of, they're layers, right? With the topmost entry in the overlays being the highest level of the layers. So for instance, if I go back to the survey, right? The survey is now, that's still, that little QR code is at the top. Now, if I put that bomb cyclone image back on, you can see it is beneath it because of its order in show all scenes. So if I drag this up above it, just click and drag, now it hides, it's now on top of everything. So it's very easy to understand. It's just stackable, right? And you can play with this all you want. You can create folders, which are really cool, and you can group a bunch of things in one folder, and inside the folder itself, you can have an order. And then if you turn off the folder, everything inside the folder goes away. Conversely, if you turn it on, everything comes on. So that's a great way to group things all at one time. So we'll go ahead and get these out of here. I don't want to look at that image any more than I have to. And then we have here, this is by the way, this is set to what's called show in all scenes. Show in all scenes is exactly what it means. It will show up in all scenes. So those overlays will always be there on every scene. So this is something like if you have like a watermark or a logo or something that you want to be present and just be able to toggle that on and off. That just, you put it in show all scenes and then it's always there, right? And it's always accessible. show in current scene, these are things that are only going to be present in the current scene that you have selected in the scenes list here, right? So that, now what that means is that if I switch over to this scene here, right, you see how things change, the overlays change, and I don't have my camera. And then with the, and you know what, I could probably do a quick tutorial on the folders. It's fairly straightforward. It's just it's a collection. But so for instance here, let's just do that because we got time. If I click on this icon here, that is it's a group. It's called a group, right? I click on that and it creates what's called a new group. So I'm gonna move this to the top here. Oh, come on. Put it here, and then I'm gonna drag these items into the group. So the survey and the bomb cyclone image, those are both in that group now. So I can call this, you know, group overlay, something like that. I don't know. And now if I toggle that on, see these are, or I toggle it on, these are set to off. So their status will set their default whether or not you turn that folder on or off. So you want those on, and then use the folder visibility to control everything at once. And that's it. That's all you do. There is also what's called there's a link option for groups that allow you to, if you click that link and I turn these on, and now if I move them, they move together as a group. So everything that's inside that folder will be collectively transformed or moved inside that group all at one time. And they are, what's really nice about them, exactly, Mr. Moderator, they help you organize things, and then you don't need to, it's great when you're setting up a scene, and sometimes you don't even need to keep the folders around. Once you got to get things like you like them, you can start pulling stuff out of folders. But it's a great way, like if you're dealing with like your borders, and then you've got stuff on the interior of your scene, those things you can toggle on and off, and once you've got them set, you can either pull them out of folders, or if you want to still treat them collectively as a group, you can do that. Okay, so back to show in current scene. So right now, obviously, I've got the well, hang on a second. Let's get rid of that. Okay, it's traumatic. So I have two camera A entries in here. I don't need that first one, so I just have my one camera A. And then what this also allows me to do is to post comments from you guys on the screen. So by clicking on, say, like I need a folder here, I can click that, and now it shows up. And look at that, show in current scene. See how it shows up right there? And it's going to appear above everything else. And eventually, I think I have this set to go off automatically. If it doesn't, I can do, yeah, there it goes. And you see now it hid as soon as I clicked it. So once you get it set up, it's like, I'm going to turn this back on real quick and see, like, okay, well, I want this to be, you know, a little bit bigger. I want to, you know, mess with the size a little bit. I can do option, there we go. Maybe that's a little bit the right size. And now you've got that, this is set up, and then I'll go ahead and hide it again. And then if I want to show Paul's comment, I click on that, and now it's replaced the prior comment with Paul's comment. And then inside your system preferences, you have a, let's see, where is it? Yeah, automatically hide comment overlay after X number of seconds. So it defaults to 15, so you don't have to worry about it. If you wanted to highlight a comment, you click it, go off and do your thing, because it's really easy to get distracted when you're doing your comments and you're reading them and you're trying to do your presentation. So you put it up there, you read it real quick, and then other people can look at it, view it, and then it'll just automatically go away. You don't have to worry about that. Yes, and you can drag comments onto the screen, kind of like, let's see, can I do that? Yep, right that like that. So I can drag it, and then now we have, let's move that, there we go. I'm looking down on you, Paul. This allows you to, if you're like at the end of ENN, Fulgens loves to display all the like, take it easy, great show, see you next time comments at the end of the show. And all he's doing is he's dragging and dropping these comments from this window over to the screen. And so everybody can see. Well, of course I got to put that up there. Oh, Mr. Camera Junkie, he has his own stream that he's a moderator for Ecamm, but he also has his own stream that he has on Saturdays. You should check him out. He is the man when it comes to camera tech. All right, so we've got the scene kind of set up here. Let's go into a brand new scene and just set things up as if we're fresh, okay? So I'll go back to new scene here, and you, like I said, you can still hear me because the audio and the video are separate from each other. I have my audio panel down here. If I wanted to mute the audio that's coming from my camera into Ecamm, I would mute it here, but it is separate from the video feed. And this allows you to use other types of audio devices, not just the audio that's coming from your camera. Microphones, audio mixers, all those things, you can have those separate, and then that allows you to basically pick which one you want to use for your audio. Today, the way I set this up, I'll go back here real quick. The way I set this up is that I have this wireless mic here. I'll pull it off right. So here it is. Okay, this is a little DJI mic. All right. And it's going into a little transmitter. And on top of my camera here, I've got, sorry if you're hearing noise here, I've got the receiver that's going, so the transmitter is going to the receiver and the receiver is going to the microphone in on my camera. And then both the audio and video is going from the HDMI cable coming out of the camera into a capture board. Yes, it's a cam link. And then that is going into the computer. And that way, I do it like this. Well, I did it like this for a reason. If you have audio coming in from different sources, chances are the audio and video signals will come in at slightly different delays. And this is kind of a, we'll get into the weeds if we start talking too much about this, but essentially there's a feature called mic delay built into Ecamm that allows you to delay the audio just a few frames so that it matches up with the video coming in, because it takes more processing power to capture the video, digitize it, send it into the computer, and then try and match it up. Most cases you're fine, but some cases you might need to introduce a little bit of a delay if your microphone is separate from your camera. Okay, so go back to our new scene here. And to do a camera, cameras are really simple. You can click on the overlays button for camera, which is right here, new camera overlay. If I click that, here I am. And like I said, I can scroll it. And let's say I don't want it to be full screen. Like for instance, I did this results here. How did I do this one where I am off in the corner and then I've got the results here from Chrome playing in real time? Well, this is just a camera overlay, and this is what's called a screen share overlay. So I'm sharing the screen from Chrome and I'm putting them side by side. So there are times where you want this. And also, you know, if I wanted to have that the survey up again, I got to turn this on, do that and that. And so now you have your survey, you've got your web browser, and then you have your camera all on the same screen at the same time. How do you do that? Well, I've already got the camera here. So you can see that the camera is set to what's called it's a wide aspect ratio. So most cameras these days capture in 16:9. So it's rectangular, it's wider than it is tall. And so you can set that by clicking on the pencil icon or the edit icon on the left-hand side of the overlay, and then you can set your shape. So you can do wide, you could do classic. If I wanted to go 4:3, I could. If I wanted to go full-on square, yes, you can do other things like circles and a squircle. What's a squircle? Well, now you can do like a corner radius on this. And then if you're doing something for, say, like Instagram or stories, doing it vertically like this allows you to set up your frame in such a way that this will match up with what people would see in those vertical format, what social media applications. This to me just feels like, I feel like I'm being squeezed in by a trash compactor or something. So I'm going to go back to wide. Oh, also custom. Custom's nice because what custom allows you to do is set the shape to be whatever you want. So if you hold down the option key this is the control, no, it's the control key, option key. Oh, yeah, so if you hold down the option key, you can see while I'm dragging one side, I can crop it, right? I can do that up here, right? I can size it up however I want. Now let me go ahead and reset crop, and I'm going to set this to wide again. And then I'm just going to pull in these sides. So I'm holding down the option key while clicking and dragging from the edges. So I get exactly the shape that I want. So if I want this, I can put it here like this. And you notice some guides pop up like here and here, right? So if I wanted this to be more of like taking up kind of the safe area of the screen, you can see you've got horizontal and vertical guides. So you've got the edges, the screen edges, and these are up here mainly to make sure that you're not going over a cropped window. This is from the old broadcast days where your TV screen was actually bigger than what you could see. That doesn't really exist anymore, but it is a good way to kind of keep things with inside the edges, because it is, when things start getting too far off to the edge, you might lose it or forget about it, and then there's parts of your images that are cut off from the screen. Let me turn off that guy again. So let's see. Probably, I will get to this question in a second. Yes, you can. I'm sure you can. You may need to replicate things, but I'm sure you can do that. So I've got my camera here, and then let's say I wanted to go back and I wanted to highlight. For instance, I like to use the Mac OS activity monitor because this helps me, especially on this laptop, it helps me gauge the memory utilization and my CPU utilization, and I keep this up. I usually don't show it, but it's something that I have up here. And let's say I want to share this window and put it up here so I can explain things to people. What I would do is create a screen share, and by default it's going to create one of my entire screen, which I don't want. So I click on the pencil, instead of show entire screen, I can say activity monitor. And now the activity monitor is, it's right here, and it doesn't matter where it is, it'll show it. And now I can zoom in on that. And you guys, and again, if I need to crop it a little bit, I can do that just holding down the option key, right? And this gives me a way to show people, okay, well, here's my utilization. Here's what's going on. If I have additional information that I want to share, like there, I guess this went off the screen a little bit. Let me go and reset this a little. And it's okay to overlap stuff. Matter of fact, sometimes it's, there's nothing wrong with doing this. You can do that, and it's up to you. So you can see now I can show this. And what's also really cool about this particular view is that if I want to, I can scale it up real quick, show people what's going on inside the activity monitor, and then just scale it back down. So I can do that in real time, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's get back to your question real quick. So let me put that up. Presenting a webinar for the first time through free video conferencing. Okay, you're comfortable with Ecamm. That's great. Can I use my scene setup in Ecamm? if for your webinar, yeah, I would can you show us why we use Q for questions? Oh yes, I will do that. So I'll get right to that, Paul. Your scene setup should work in the webinar no matter what. I mean, it's what you're doing is you're broadcasting. So if you're using either interview mode or you're using Zoom, whatever scene you set up inside of Ecamm will get sent through to Zoom. So, or to whatever webinar software you're using. And that's usually, sometimes if you're not using Zoom, if you're using a proprietary piece of software, what you can do is use what's called the virtual camera. So you can set up Ecamm's output here, and you can say virtual cam, and you just turn that on, and this will show up as a camera source inside the webinar software. If you're not using it Ecamm directly, you can use the webinar software and then just pull in Ecamm as your camera. And anything you do in Ecamm, even though it's not, don't think of it in terms of like a physical camera. Think of it in terms of you're broadcasting the contents of Ecamm through to the webinar software. Should work. I haven't any problems with that. Okay, so Paul wanted me to show you how I filter things when we have comments here. So you can see here, there's a search field at the top of our comments list. If I type in Q:, there you go. Now, if I just type in Q, sometimes, yeah, you can see here, like here's a Q, right? But that gives me a way. Q:, is what we usually say, do Q:. Matter of fact, I think Mr. Moderator has a mug that has a Q:, on it, a coffee mug. But this is the way we filter out comments from questions, and it allows us to more quickly identify open questions that we haven't answered during presentations like this, and it helps us get to any questions that people might have. And that's actually good, if you do that as a matter of course in your own presentations, not just watching Ecamm stuff, but in your own presentations, and you say, hey, if because it would be really nice if this would be something that would be kind of universal, right? And I know that they push pretty hard for it at Ecamm, and I think it's a good reason, because you can filter out those questions and then be able to get to them. Because when you get to the Q&A portion of a session, you want to have all your questions lined up, ready to go. And that's perfect for that. Okay, so I've set up a scene here, and again, this is just a new scene. The things that I was talking about before, like once you click on this little pencil icon, you can see I've got setups here. Yep, that's another one. You can see like if I want a border or not. Is it, I can do a gradient border. I can do like, this one's kind of trippy, because what this is it's two different colors, but one of the colors has a 50% opacity. So it looks like the border is essentially going away towards the top there. And if I go back out of live demo mode here, you can see how that looks. Kind of interesting. Go back. Corner radius, you can see this is for both visual and right now you can see if I plug in my corner radius, I can round things out. This is going to be a stylistic approach. Whether or not you round corners or you do a border, that's up to you. I mean, it's nice to have visual separation from elements, and Ecamm gives you that ability, which is great, because it allows you to focus things, right? And maybe this is more important than the camera view, something like that. I would tend to, go that route more than anything, is using borders on things that you want to call attention to. And this little icon here is not just for show. So if I wanted to, let me turn we'll just go back to regular color grading here. I can turn off the radius on those two corners, and now you see I've got a sharp corner here, rounded, rounded. So that is actually a way for you to control that look. If you're trying to do something that's, again, stylistic, you can change that. And then below that is usually reserved for specific functions of the overlay itself. So for instance here, zoom to app windows, that's going to be specific to the screen sharing for applications. If you wanted to, you could activate system audio capture. Be careful with that because it'll capture everything and send it out in your broadcast. That's messages, anything, any kind of browser you got playing with some audio. And the thing you have to be really, really careful about when you're broadcasting on YouTube is copyright strikes. And so any kind of audio that you may have been listening to privately, or any kind of video that you were watching privately, if you accidentally restart that and it's played over your broadcast, you could get a copyright strike against you on YouTube. And those are not fun. And those are things you have to be very careful about. So using system audio capture, I tend to leave off, and I am very specific about what audio goes from Ecamm out to the internet just because of those kinds of things. I've learned the hard way, let's put it that way. Green screen key. So if you have a green screen, I don't really have any examples of that right now, but if you had an app that had, say for instance, Keynote, you could turn on green screen key, and if you had Keynote as an application that you were capturing, you could have a green background inside of Keynote, and it would see right through that to your background of whatever you've got playing behind that overlay in Ecamm. So might be fun. There's lots of ways to do that. Opacity, that's a no-brainer. You can also, what is it, is it option? No. Is it shift? Yeah, shift. So you can control opacity. If you hold down the shift key and you use your scroll wheel, you can control the opacity of your overlays that way. See that? So you don't have to go into this menu to change that. Rotation, I mean, yeah, you know, that's generally, I mean, there's some things that you will definitely rotate. Shapes, which is another overlay type, rotation all day long, yeah. Perspective is kind of cool because what this does is it alters the perspective of that window. So it kind of creates like a vanishing point. In this kind of example, what I would probably do is I would set my camera's perspective like this, right? And then I would, you know, make it so that I'm looking, this takes some getting used to, but you could pretend that you're looking at that window, right? So if let me go out of live demo mode here, and we will go away, and you can see now and say like, okay, here's the activity monitor, and it looks like I'm looking at activity monitor, but I'm looking off at the air duct for a dryer in the basement here. So, you know, you just have to train yourself to do that, but it looks kind of cool. And you know, if you have two people that sort of look like they're looking at each other, you know, screens, those would be, you know, those would be things that you could do. I tried it. It just, sometimes it looks great. And there's other times that you just kind of go, I'm just going to leave this right at 0. Blend modes are another thing. Let me create a shape because let's do that. I'm gonna go back to demo mode here. We'll get rid of this guy for now. Oh, by the way, when I click X, that does not get rid of the overlay itself. It's still here. You can see it's screen share. If I just turn that all that's doing is controlling visibility. So a lot of folks think that when you click that, it deletes the object. It does not. It will, the only way to delete the object really is to go down here to the trash can, and you select your overlay and then hit the trash can button, and boom. And of course you can undo that. So let me get rid of that again. And let's create a shape. Now by default, see, here's our shape here. You can choose, you know, rectangle, square, circle, squircle again, and we'll just do the squircle. And the thing about that's kind of cool about having these shapes is that you can use them together in conjunction with each other and then have them like off to the side. So if you're trying to call out things, maybe you have, let me bring that QR code up real quick again. And I wanted to have a background for that. You know, I could do something like that, and then maybe right now there's some motion. Maybe the squircle's a little bit too, right? But it can be larger than the border. Does, you know, the border has a certain amount of width. This allows you to have, you know, some kind of other shape going on. And because it is right now it's set to motion, it's going to cycle between these two colors here in a circular pattern. Let me go. So some other fun things to do with shapes. Okay, so I was talking about, well, here, let me do this real quick. I was talking about, I swear, Ecamm just doesn't want my face on the screen. You can see that in this guy here, you've got blend mode. Blend mode exists in a lot of the objects and shapes that you use in, or overlays and shapes that you use inside of Ecamm. Blend mode is how it calculates the colors of both the overlay and the background behind it. And if you've used Photoshop or any kind of compositing tool, chances are you've seen something like this. You can, you know, you could do darken. And you can see it's there. It's just really, really dark. You can choose, you know, multiply. Yes. You can choose, you know, different like color burn, linear burn, you know, all this stuff you can do, which is kind of cool. I just, in most cases, I mean, this is one of those things, like, if you don't know what these do, what you do, and it's probably like most of us, you just kind of, you go through until you find the one that you like, and then that's that's like, oh, that looks good, and you had no idea that that's what that particular blend mode did. It's fine. I mean, you're kind of playing anyway. But the other thing I wanted to mention about it's not located in blend modes, but it is located up here in fill. Now you have motion, gradient, color, which is similar for a lot of other objects inside of Ecamm. However, you have other things like blur. So now if I put this over my face, you can see I am now blurred. So I have a shape overlay, right? And I can see, you know, if I wanted to do witness protection program type stuff, I could do that. If I wanted to choose, you know, zoom doesn't, I mean, it works. It's just kind of, it's interesting. Yeah, it really is going to come down to your own personal preference. This is a stylistic thing more than anything. I do like some of these other ones that are fun, like Pixelate. You know, kind of puts you in the, and if you really dial that up, you know, that can put you in the witness protection program for sure, right? That one's kind of fun. And yeah, comic. So if you remember certain video in the 80s, you know, you could do something like that. It kind of cool. So these are just overlays. And what's nice is that, you know, I can go back and just turn that shape off, and now it's gone, right? And I'm back to my regular image. It's not baked in, which is nice. Nice to have that. So when you're doing your scene layout, I mean, really, it's up to you to figure out what it is you want. I mean, nothing's fixed, and that's the beauty of Ecamm. And it's also, it'll also be a way to, you know, kind of, it gives you the freedom to just create your style, your look, right? There's nothing really holding you back. Of course, there's all kinds of things that you can do out of a program of Ecamm, like using Photoshop or Illustrator or other content creation tools and bringing that into Ecamm. But there's a lot you can do inside the product itself that doesn't require you going outside. So I would encourage you to do that. Find out what the limitations are before you start going in and buying a bunch of different pieces of software just to get that certain look. I did want to talk about the transitions. Now this one's kind of interesting. Let me go back to, we'll do a color. We'll pick something really, yeah, like that. All right, so we got our colors here, and I'm going to set my transition to fly in from the, let's have it fly in from the left so it's pretty obvious. So if I turn that off, it goes away, flies out to the left. Turn it back on, it flies in, and it automatically slows down. That's all done for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So when either you enter a new scene and this object is visible, or this overlay is visible automatically, meaning if I go back to this screen here, and then I go to new scene, you'll see that it animates automatically. Now if I turn this off like this and I go back to a full screen like I am right now and go to new scene, you notice it doesn't come on, and that's because the default visibility for it was set to off. So as soon as I turn that on, boom. And Brandy, no. The speed is kind of set. It'd be nice to have some keyframe animation editors and things like that, but that starts to get really way into the weeds. And I usually recommend that people learn a product like, like Motion, Apple Motion. It's a cheap product to own, and you can do a lot of this stuff and set your own speeds and then just put them in as overlays. You just pull in the animation as an overlay and you're good to go. And you can do a lot more than just flying squircles. And so let's see, go back to that, and we will, there's other things you can do. You can do spin in from the top, for instance, and you can always test that. You just go turn it off, turn it back on, right? So the key with this is that you can animate everything, right? So if I wanted to have even my camera view slide in from the left, so I'll say fly in from the left. I'll go back to the scene, right? And now click on the new scene, and you'll see how I slide in. So it all kind of happens at the same time. You know, all the things that are animating will animate at the same time. If you're trying to step things through, what I would recommend you have is like a Stream Deck from Elgato, and those buttons can be programmed in such a way where you can trigger different overlays to come on at your interval, or you can actually program it to have multi overlays show at a time. So you press one button and then you have one overlay fire, you hold that for 5 seconds, and then you have another overlay fire, and so on and so forth. And it does all that on the software. So you're setting up the scene inside of Ecamm, but the Stream Deck can actually control the timing of those overlays. You can get quite unwieldy pretty quickly. So you can imagine, again, keeping it simple, keeping it pretty basic is key to not getting flustered during the middle of a presentation and something's not working the way you anticipated it to work. It's better to just keep it simple. Yeah, the multi-action, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so, well, I have my phone with me. So if I wanted to use my phone as a Stream Deck, there is a version of the software that's free from Elgato that will trigger these actions that we're talking about right now. They will, I think the 6 buttons, I think you get for free. And then you can have more buttons if you pay like an annual fee for it. So look into that. I mean, if you have an iPhone, it's a no-brainer, and you can have your iPhone just kind of set up next to your desk, right? And then you just press a button, and they're big buttons to trigger those events. So I'd look into that at the very minimum. All right, let me get my head screwed on straight here. Oh, wow. Okay, well, we got about 10 minutes, so if you guys have specific questions about anything that I've done or would like some more information, now would be a good time, because we try to keep it about an hour. I'll go longer if Paul lets me, but we're trying to keep it at an hour. Some other things, drop shadows. You can do drop shadows on almost all objects. It's just the shadow button here. Turn that on. You can see it shows up here. By default, it's at kind of this angle. So the angle is the direction of the shadow. So your light source is coming from here. Now, back in the old days, Apple had its user interface guidelines where they required that anybody developing applications for Mac OS or iOS, that the light source be directly above the object. So the shadows were always perfectly centered underneath the object straight down, right? So that's kind of a habit of mine. I do it like that, and I don't know. How about the first scene background change? The first scene background change. Oh, you're talking, which scene are you talking about? Are you talking about, are you talking about the, or this one? Let me know. Let me know. Oops. I'm going to go back to this. Do scene. There we go. Oh, the purple. So this, oh, the background itself. Well, that one is set up here. This is a background. You can see down in the overlay section here, we have this background set up. And this is just an image. That's all it is. And it's on by default. It's set up to be show in background. So kind of like show in all scenes, the show in background is going to be the background for every single scene you create. So if I create a new scene, like I just created a default scene like this, it's there. Yeah, that background's there. Why? Because it's set up here in show in background. So if I turn that off, now we got a black background. And if I go back to this scene here, you see that that background's gone now, because again, it's for all backgrounds for every single scene. If you want to have a different background for each scene, all you have to do is just drag any kind of image that you want to use. You can drag that, and that would be the lowest overlay in your layered list, right? So for instance, if I wanted this to be, I believe if I hit option, I can copy it. Yes. Option is copy, by the way. So if I wanted to, I can copy that from show in background. So now show in background is still off, but I've created a purple, that purple background now is only for this scene. So if I go back to new scene here, you see it's not purple, it's black still, because all I've done is I've said this image exists in this current scene. Hopefully that makes sense. I haven't had enough caffeine, so if I'm not making sense, let me know. So I'm going to turn that back on. I don't know why we would need this. And let's see. You're welcome. It's hard to keep looking down. I see, normally I'm used to having my screen right in front of me through a teleprompter, but my laptop is down here, so I apologize for you having to see the top of my head more than my face sometimes. It's just kind of getting used to, well, getting used to staring at a camera that's, literally a foot away from your face is in and of itself. I'm sure a lot of you have had to get over that. That's a challenge, right? There's 16 people watching right now. I don't know who anybody looks like except for the people who have commented on the screen. So there's 16 people, and you know who you are, that I'm talking to. So I just treat this camera as kind of like a portal into everybody's computer device, whatever they're using. And it takes some time to get used to. But this is, if you have the teleprompter, like Elgato makes a teleprompter, or if you have a more traditional teleprompter, like with an iPad as a screen or something like that, it just makes it a lot easier to look like you're communicating directly with somebody. Because every time I want to control something in Ecamm, I have to look off screen, and I don't like doing that. Okay, so that's the overlay section. There's a lot of other overlays here. There's web widgets. You can put timers. The timers, these are like at the beginning of our scene. Here, I'll just jump off. I'll jump to the first scene again, and I'll mute for a second, but you'll see. Never mind, the countdown is all the way down at 0 opacity. So I will just create one real quick. So this, the countdown timer, you can, like, this is one of those features that's really cool to have if you're doing trivia on your show. If you're starting up a new show and you want to kind of get people coming in and getting ready for the show to start, you would start out with like a timer, and it's really, it's straightforward. You can tell it, what the duration is. If you have an opening music track, just find out what the duration is of the opening music, and then set your countdown timer to that. So then when the music stops, you can jump right into the show, and there's no hard cuts or anything like that. It just flows naturally, right? So right now it's defaulting to 10, and it's set to auto start. So I can just, add that in, and now here it is, and size it up just like any other object, right? And so now this just starts counting down. Right now, it doesn't do anything. It just reaches 0, and it doesn't do diddly squat. But if I click on Edit Countdown, you can see here it says, go to next scene when finished. So I can check that. Let me set this for 3 seconds. And here I am. I'm in the new scene. Go back here. Now, that can get really freaking annoying. So one of the things you could do with that, and you gotta set the timer. If you disable a timer, if you disable the display of the timer, it'll stop the timer. 3 seconds is not a whole lot of time to click around, right? So just make sure that you set your timer to a reasonable amount so that you're not constantly fighting with it. You're like, go to scene, okay, turn off timer. No, wait, so that can get kind of frustrating. But there's other overlays in here. Let me see if I can jump to that real. There we go. Did I get it? Okay, I got it. Okay, quick on the draw. There's other things you can set up in here. There's web widgets. Web widgets are really cool. If you're doing any kind of data-driven stuff from the internet, you can have that data-driven overlay on your screen. I use it. I do a live stream from one of the airports here, and I have the incoming flights and the outbound flights all in a strip down at the bottom portion of the screen, and that's fully automated. I don't have to touch it, but it's there, and that's going through a web widget, and it's really useful to have. So if you're having that kind of stuff come in, or if you're, I don't know, election results or whatever, you can use that. Okay, time check. So yes, we are 1 minute. Any final questions before we wrap it for today? All right, well, I want to thank everybody for sticking with me on this and joining me from the Northwestern Command of Ecamm during a bomb cyclone aftermath. And thanks so much for your time. Links are down in the description as far as where to find me online. I've got a couple of channels. Basecamp is one of the channels that I have, and I do a ton of training. I've got 14 lessons on Ecamm and stuff there. And I do lots of product reviews related to products that live streamers like yourself would use. So check it out. And then also there's the purchase link too. So if you're interested in getting Ecamm, that is also down in the description. So everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. Hopefully you have more electricity than I do. And I will see you around on the interwebs. Take care. Bye.
Coming straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam for the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the sham. This is a jam for the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the sham. This is a jam for the Ecamm fam. This is a jam for the Ecamm fam. This is a jam for the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the sham.